Before I begin this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, the first inhabitants of this country. I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians of the land upon which I live, past and present, the Jabukai, Yirrakanji, and the Gimwa-Yidinji people. This presentation seeks to unpack and clarify how I, as a graduate teacher, can successfully embed ATSI perspectives and pedagogy within my classroom environment. Under the professional standards of graduate teachers set by ATSL, it is stated that it is the responsibility of all teachers to consider the emotional, physical, and intellectual needs of every child when designing and implementing successful learning experiences within the schooling context. Standards 1.3 and 1.4 accentuate the importance of building up a repertoire of skills and strategies that respond to the needs of diverse learners, that are respectful of their diverse cultural backgrounds and identities. In conjunction with this is Standard 2.4, which requires graduate teachers to demonstrate a broad knowledge and understanding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories and perspectives, as well as a respect for these. However, despite these professional standards, in-depth research has found that there is a severe bias towards incorporating Indigenous perspectives and histories within curriculum delivery, and this lack of intention to integrate the cross-cultural priorities is causing a detrimental effect upon the vast number of Indigenous learners within Australian classrooms. My original lesson plan modifications involved a number of modifications based upon research completed within the first 3 weeks of this subject commencing. These strategies therefore centralize the main ideas of personal identities, ATSI histories within the educational context, and policies informing ATSI students' education. Therefore, my very first modification to the lesson was completing an acknowledgement of country and elders at the beginning of the lesson. This respectful gesture to recognize traditional and current landowners and custodians was also relevant to the assessment and lesson task, which centered around the usage of the Malanda Falls region by the Indigenous traditional owners. The second modification was the modification made to the PowerPoint resource. Within the PowerPoint resource, I ensured to incorporate a slide that referred to country or place, or the traditional location in which the traditional stories and activities took place. This was incorporated to encourage the students' connectedness to country, as well as their own personal links. In doing this, however, I needed to ensure to warn students that it may contain sensitive content, such as deceased persons or voices of, which would adhere to the Indigenous cultural protocol. Considering the Aboriginal heritage of a student within this class, as well as her classmates, it was highly relevant to place these adaptations within the lesson. The final lesson modification introduced the concept of a yarning circle when conducting group work. In doing so, I would have given a description as to the intent of a yarning circle, including cultural significance, and how this strategy can be used to learn from a collective group of people, which would assist in building respectful relationships in addition to preserving and passing on cultural knowledge. These strategies placed a large emphasis upon student awareness. By centralizing the student's own self-awareness, it becomes possible to facilitate and solidify the understanding of critical awareness in order to successfully understand Indigenous knowledge. The next 3 weeks of research within this subject have led me to consider adjusting these original modifications in order to demonstrate a higher level of understanding and respect for ATSI cultures and histories, and how this cultural awareness impacts the educational setting. Research conducted by Lau and Yunkaporta focuses on the Australian national curriculum and has found that there is a severe lack of intention to incorporate high-quality learning around the histories and cultures of ATSI people. By engaging with Indigenous frameworks such as Yunkaporta's 8 Ways of Learning, educational experiences for young Australians can be enhanced to incorporate Indigenous perspectives. It is crucial to implement Indigenous frameworks alongside dominant ideologies in the classroom in order to provide greater opportunities for meaningful learning experiences to occur. Not only are students expected to engage with the Australian curriculum, but they are also expected to navigate the hidden curriculum, which incorporates a number of unwritten rules, regulations, standards, and expectations. For students who are not familiar with the values of the dominant European values, which are the most influential in schools across Australia, their ability to achieve in this area is significantly impacted. It is perhaps partially due to the hidden curriculum that there remains a gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous education. Therefore, as an educator, it is imperative that I am able to engage with all of my students within and outside the classroom environment, in addition to the community of which they are a part of. It is evident that giving all students a sense of belonging in the classroom through the acceptance and incorporation of cultural values will improve their attendance and hence their achievement in the learning environment. Blue Goanna has recognized that in junior schooling years, community engagement activities where students, families, and teachers come together are popular ways of involving other perspectives with the process of learning. This, however, is significantly lacking in my area of senior schooling. As a teacher, I would attempt to incorporate these same strategies, however modified to the senior schooling context. These will allow me to foster links between ATSI families, the school, and the wider community. This research has allowed me to gain a greater insight in understanding and respect for my future Indigenous students. From the previously mentioned research, it is of the utmost importance that ATSI students are able to equally access and engage with all aspects of the curriculum. All authenticated research focused upon the connection of educators and the communities of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, such as that evidenced by the QCAA, argue that teachers and educators must demonstrate a solid understanding of culture and connectedness to country. Therefore, in light of the research and understanding, the following adjustments to my lesson plan are as follows. Orientation. Within the orientation or commencement of my lesson, I would display the acknowledgement of country within the PowerPoint assistance resource. In addition to this would be the students' access to classroom PowerPoint resources and such on a common drive within the school network that students will have the ability to access on and off campus. If applicable, the students would also have access within the classroom to electronic devices such as laptops, iPads, or computers to gain further access to online and multimodal resources. Peter Radol has argued that students undertake challenging and stimulating learning activities supported by access to global information resources and powerful tools for information processing, communication, and collaboration have a higher chance of succeeding in attaining the expected Australian and hidden curriculum outcomes. As the lesson progresses, scaffolding will allow the students to complete the lesson activities. The first activity is that of the identification of land usage by the traditional owners. This activity will present unknown languages to the students and therefore will require some further development. By incorporating an index or dictionary development of these terms, all students will begin to set the foundations of identifying and connecting to country. In addition to this will be the extending of an invitation to the traditional owners and elders of the Malanda Falls region, the Nagajonji people, to perhaps explain in further detail how Indigenous land usage is different and more sustainable from white man's usage of the land, and how partnerships are being created to ensure the sustainability and future prosperity of the Malanda Falls region. Within the assessment, this lesson was designed for the students to be working through their summative assessment item. However, by incorporating ATSI perspectives and histories, students will have the opportunity and ability to demonstrate this further cultural awareness through their presentation of their folio assessment. As mentioned previously, it is crucial to implement Indigenous frameworks and strategies alongside dominant ideologies in the classroom in order to provide greater opportunities for meaningful learning experiences to occur. These last 7 weeks of learning have allowed me to gain a much deeper understanding and respect for the culture of ATSI students and how incorporating these perspectives and histories can have a profound effect upon my students. These modules and research texts completed within the last few weeks have allowed me as an educator to self-reflect, self-critique, and engage with the critical issues that coexist with the teaching of Indigenous students. As mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, HSIL standards require that graduate teachers understand and demonstrate the importance of building up a repertoire of skills and strategies to respond to the needs of diverse learners, are respectful of their diverse cultural backgrounds and identities, in addition to the demonstration of a broad knowledge and understanding of ATSI art histories and perspectives, and a respect for these. By doing so, it may become easier to close the gap found in ATSI education and awareness.